Happy Saturday morning. It's Power Yoga morning here at the Treasure Box. You see behind me Gary's beautifully decorated mantle with King Gary right here. This is Castle Grayson, of course, and he is the king of his castle. Anyway, Gary so graciously allows me to use the Treasure Box every Saturday morning to bring yoga to all of you. And so I hope that you enjoy this morning power flow focused on the Hakini mudra. So I have my friend Simon on the other end here. He's familiar with this because we've been doing it all week long. So the Hakini mudra helps us to balance both sides of our brain. It helps us to increase our memory and our concentration and better access the power of our brain. It's a wonderful mudra to take if you are somebody that, you know, kind of by matter of circumstance or personal habit or preference tends to multitask a lot. When we do a lot of multitasking, we feel, you know, sometimes a little feeling of unease or frenetic, you know, like we've got a lot of loose ends out there, like we're not really fully dedicating our attention to any one thing or the other. So this kind of mudra can help us get better back into balance and lower our stress levels and do better at concentrating our focus on whatever is at hand. So it's a great mudra for students. It's a great mudra for any of us that have big things in front of us that require a lot of dedication of our attention and our energies. And by doing so, like I said, you can lower your stress. And when you lower your stress, when you lower your nervous system response to things, you're naturally more effective. So we're going to do a lot of poses today that focus on increasing our concentration. And so you see my round mat here. You pick your top and your bottom of your mat, your short end versus your long end. But I'm going to be moving around the mat today so that you have maximum view of various different poses. And I don't know if you can hear the music behind me. I can hear it, but the headphones tend to cancel it out. So if you don't hear it this morning, I do apologize. It's just kind of how it is. So go ahead and take your easy seated pose. If you have a bolster or a block that you want to sit on to start your easy seated pose, that is certainly okay. A lot of times when we are first starting off with our yoga routines in the morning, our body isn't open yet. And even if we're moving into a power flow for the morning, we've got to get the body ready. So I always say to people, what we want is a constantly open channel of energy from the base of our spine all the way to the crown of our head. And we want freedom of movement of the breath up and down the spine. So go ahead and inhale your shoulders up. Exhale, bringing them back and down so that your shoulders and your hips are in the same plane behind you. Drawing your back in alignment with your spine, allowing the bottom of your chin to be parallel to the floor. Go ahead and start getting into the breath, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. As you inhale and exhale, you may choose to close your eyes. You may choose to draw your attention toward the third eye chakra. The third eye chakra is our source of intuition, the location of our cognition of turning inward, self-analysis. And the Hakini mudra really encourages us to look inward and maybe even prioritize so that we can focus. As you're breathing in and out, create lots of space, drawing the crown of your head up towards the ceiling as you allow your shoulders naturally to drop down and back. As you inhale and exhale, generate the breath from the belly. As you inhale, the belly expands. And as you exhale, the belly draws inward. Take another inhale. And fully exhale. As you inhale, start to engage the Ujjayi breath. We get the Ujjayi breath when we slightly constrict our throat as we are breathing in and breathing out, allowing the air to pass along the back of the throat, creating a ribbon-like silky sensation. As you breathe in and out with the Ujjayi breath, you might try to create a whisper sound on the back of your throat, or what some affectionately call the Darth Vader breath. Go ahead and inhale your hands up. And exhale your hands out and down. Inhale your hands out and up. Exhale out and down. Inhale out and up. And exhale out and down. If you are sitting on a bolster or a block, feel free to remove it as we start to move into the moving part of our sequence. Inhale our hands up. Exhale your hands forward and go ahead and reach for the floor, stretching out our first stretch of the day, the back of your right hip if your right foot is in front in your Sukhasana pose. Continue to draw your heart center forward, draw the crown of your head forward. All movement is forward. Naturally, your heart center will move down as you have extension and openness in your hips. Where you should feel the sensation would be along the back of your right hip. If you feel it in your lower back, please lift up your heart center to take the pressure out of your lower spine. Take one more inhale and fully exhale. Go ahead and walk your hands back, switch sides with your feet, placing your right foot behind, leaving your left foot in front. You might lift up and adjust so that your sits bones are in firm contact with the floor. You can even spiral your inner thighs out, so you're pushing your inner thigh down as you're kind of removing the flesh out from the sides of the legs to encourage everything to be in more contact with the floor. Inhale your hands up, and then exhale, hinge forward. When the hands reach the floor, you can walk them forward and just focus on drawing the crown of the head forward, drawing your heart forward, encouraging a nice satisfying stretch along the outside of your left hip. And again, if you feel this in your lower back, please lift up your heart center so that you are not overstretching the muscles of your lower spine. Take another inhale. And on your exhale, go ahead and walk your hands back. We're going to go ahead and do a little bit of gentle spine movement. So let's move into our tabletop position. I'm going to turn to the side so that you have a better view of me. So go ahead, and in your tabletop position, I want you to be well aligned with your hands directly underneath your shoulders, drawing your belly button up against the spine, keeping your pelvis neutral as your hips are stacked perfectly over your knees. Boy, that fire looks wonderful. And then what I want you to do is just get into the strength of this pose by drawing the crown of your head forward as you widen your collarbones and bring your shoulders back. Feel your side waist engage. Feel your core muscles engaging in this pose. Remembering that strength on your inhale, lift up your tailbones, lift up your heart center, dropping your belly. And then on your exhale, reverse all of that, drawing your back up to the ceiling, dropping your crown of your head, dropping your tailbone. On your inhale, lift up your sits bones, lift up your heart center, drawing your shoulders away from the ears and down the back. And then on the exhale, go ahead, curling your back up towards the ceiling, dropping your tailbone, dropping your crown. Inhale, reverse that, going into cow, lifting up your heart center and your sits bones. And then exhale, reversing that into cat. And then let's do something to encourage core strength today. Go ahead and tuck your toes, take an inhale. And then on the exhale, keeping your spine neutral, keeping your pelvis neutral, lift up your knees and just hold that for 3 breaths. Final breath. And then exhale, lower down. Inhale into cow. And exhale into cat. Take an inhale. Exhale, lift up the knees slightly, engaging all of your core muscles. Inhale and exhale 3 times. One more inhale. And then exhale, lower your knees. Inhale into cow. Exhale into cat. 3rd time's a charm. Inhale. Exhale, lift up your knees. Inhale and exhale 3 times. Exhale, release. Inhale into cow. And exhale into cat. Oh my gosh, you should have felt that in your quads and in your abs. Your entire rectus abdominis, you should have felt it in there. Inhale, lift up your left leg, toes pointing behind you. Drop your left hip so that you're not tilting your pelvic bowl up. Bring your right hand forward. Reach as far forward as you can. Reach your heel back as far as you can without tilting your pelvis bowl up. So drawing your belly button into the spine and keeping your hips and your pelvis neutral. Using the strength of your leg, keeping your pelvis in position, you can lift your back leg slightly. Continue to inhale and exhale 2 more times. Exhale, lower those down. Let's switch sides, lifting up the right leg, lifting up the left arm. Drawing the belly button up, keeping that pelvis neutral as you reach your left arm forward, reaching your right heel back, maybe using the strength of your leg on the back to rise your leg up slightly. 2 more breaths. Final breath. Exhale, return those back. Inhale into cow. And exhale into cat. Go ahead and take that neutral spine again. Let's go ahead and take that position again. Left leg behind, right arm in front. This is called sunbird. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, go ahead and reach back for your right foot and start to arch your back slightly. You can allow your pelvis to tilt up, lifting up the heart center, lifting up your leg, kicking your leg into your hand. One more inhale. And then on the exhale, release that out and down. Take an inhale, lifting up your right leg and your left arm. And then on the exhale, go ahead and reach behind, grabbing your left foot, kicking your left foot behind you. Lifting up your heart center. Take one more inhale. And then on the exhale, go ahead and release both of those down. And let's take one more cow sequence. Inhale into cow. And then exhale into cat. Oh my gosh. That's a nice warm up for the morning. Let me put one more log on the fire and then we'll go into the next part of our sequence. I love this in the middle of yoga, fixing the fire. Okay, go ahead, stand in Tadasana, hands at heart center as we set up for our first set of Namaskar. We're gonna do Namaskar A, okay? We're kind of building on the same sequence that we did on Thursday night, so this should be familiar to you. Take an inhale. Exhale your hands down, then inhale your hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward, touching the floor. You can have your legs bent or straight, yogi's choice. Drop your crown. Inhale into a flat spine, drawing the crown of your head forward as you draw your shoulders back and down. Take an inhale. Exhale, drop your crown, bring your right foot back. We'll start off first with a low lunge. Inhale your hands up. And then on the exhale, move your hips forward. Take an inhale. Exhale, circle your hands down. Take left foot to join right. Drop your knees, bring your elbows in, drop your heart center and your chin. On your inhale, bring them all in into low cobra. Exhale, tuck your toes. Moving back through child's pose. Up into downward facing dog. In your dog, drawing your hips back in space as you push hard against the floor with your hands and draw your shoulders back and down, creating room for your heart to descend. Take an inhale. Take an exhale and push out. Inhale, bring your right foot forward. Drop your left knee. On the inhale, rise your arms up. Exhale, moving your hips forward. Take another inhale. Exhale, circle your hands down, tuck your left toes, bring them to join the right foot. Inhale into that flat spine, exhale down. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take an inhale. Exhale your hands down. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Dropping your crown. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down. Take your left foot back. Drop your knee. Inhale your hands up. Exhale your hips forward. Take an inhale. Exhale, circle your hands down. Bring your right foot back to join the left. Dropping your knees, chin and chest. Inhale into low cobra. Exhale, moving back through child's pose into downward facing dog. Take an inhale. Take an exhale and push the floor away. Take an inhale. Exhale, bring your left foot forward. Drop your right knee. Rise up. Exhale, moving your hips forward. Take an inhale. Exhale, circling your hands down. Tuck your toes and bring your right foot to join the left. Inhale into that flat spine and exhale down. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands down. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Dropping the crown. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down. Take your right foot back. Choose the high lunge if you want. That's where I'm going with it. You can stay low if you choose. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, bend the left knee deeply as you rise up the back of your right leg strongly. Take an inhale. Exhale, circling your hands down. Take your left foot back to join your right and lower chaturanga dandasana. Inhaling into upward facing dog. Exhaling to downward facing dog. Take an inhale. Exhale, push your hips back in space. Inhale, bring your right foot forward. Rise up. Exhale, make your left leg strong and straight behind you as you descend your right leg. Take an inhale. Exhale, circle your hands down. Left to join right. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take an inhale. Exhale your hands down. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down, take your left foot back. Rise up. Exhale, descend. Take an inhale. Exhale, circle your hands down. Right foot to join left, lower chaturanga dandasana. Inhale into upward facing dog. Exhale into downward facing dog. Take an inhale. Take an exhale. Inhale, left foot forward. Rising up. Exhale, straightening and strengthening your right leg behind you as you descend your left leg. Take an inhale. Exhale, circle your hands down. Right leg to join left. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. So now I'm going to go ahead and start to build on that and bring into this our warrior sequence today. So take an inhale. Exhale the hands down. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Dropping your crown. Inhale into that flat spine. Exhale down. Take your right foot back. And then rise up into your high lunge, Anjaneyasana. Take an inhale. And then on the exhale, let's open this up into warrior two. You are seeing my backside, but that's great. When you see the backside, then you can see the alignment from that angle. Go ahead, lifting up out of the pelvis, drawing your back in alignment with your hips, sinking lower by bending your left knee even more, and drawing this knee towards the pinkies. So using the strength of your pelvis muscles to open up the pelvis, drawing these muscles on your back to hug your sacrum. And look out over your left fingertips, choosing your drishti gaze. Start to regulate your breathing. Lifting up your heart center. Take one more inhale. And then on the exhale, let's take it back to peaceful warrior. Maybe you draw your hand a little bit back to increase the stretch all along your left side body. One more breath. And then on your exhale, let's go into extended side angle. Drawing our right arm overhead, lowering our hips just a little bit more to increase that stretch from our ankle all the way up our right side to our wrist. Use our spiral to draw our right shoulder back. Take another inhale. Exhale. Circle our hands down and back up into warrior two. Now we're going to build on this sequence. Normally I would break this up in the routine, but why not? Let's do it this way. Go ahead. Tilt into, we're not going to go into triangle. What we're going to do is immediately go into balancing half moon. So go ahead and move your force of your weight forward onto your left leg and lift up your right hip. Go ahead and place your right hand on your right hip. Your right leg is in the air. Your toes are pointed forward in the same direction that your hips are facing. So you're opening up the hip so that your right hip is stacked behind your left, and then go ahead and draw your shoulder blades together. Then when you feel like you've got it, go ahead and rise up your right arm. Take another inhale. And then on the exhale, go ahead and turn your right hand towards the floor. Turn your body in a forward position. Lift up your right leg as we go into standing split. And then one more time, we're going to do something that's a little challenging. We're going to go into warrior three. So go ahead and tilt your right hip down, toes pointing towards the floor. Go ahead, rise up your heart center. Initially, your hands can be alongside, creating that nice letter T with your body. And then if you want, draw your hands forward. Take another inhale, and then exhale, drop your right leg behind you with control. Opening back up into warrior two. Take an inhale, and then exhale, circle your hands down. Take your left foot back to join your right. Lower chaturanga dandasana. Inhale into upward facing dog. And then exhale into downward facing dog. Go ahead and catch your breath in downward dog. Breathe 5 times. As you are breathing in downward dog, continue to move your hips up to the sky and back, widening your collarbones and drawing your shoulders away from your ears. Draw your belly button into your spine to create stability. Take one more inhale. Slowly exhale. On your next inhale, bring your right foot forward. And rise up, Anjaneyasana. And then exhale, open up into warrior two. I was about to say into downward facing dog. That makes no sense. Remembering all that same alignment, lift up out of the hips, tilt your tailbone, draw your belly button in and up. Lowering your shoulders so they're away from your ears, but drawing them against the back plane of the body. Go ahead and bend your right leg more deeply if that's available to you. And look out over your right hand. Take another inhale. And then on your exhale, go ahead and take that peaceful warrior, resting your left arm on your left leg as you draw your right hand up or even overhead. Bend your right leg more deeply to increase that stretch. Take an inhale. Take an exhale, spiral your right arm out just a little bit. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, let's go into our extended side angle pose. Bend your right leg more deeply to increase that stretch. Spiral your chest up. So you're bringing your left shoulder back just slightly. Take one more inhale. Exhale, circle your hands up into warrior two. You can probably release some tension out of that right leg just like I did. Then go ahead, tilt down towards the floor. Using the strength of your right leg, go ahead and rise to a balance on your right leg, lifting up your left leg, and then opening up that hip as we move into balancing half moon. As you open up that hip, push Push your hips slightly forward so that you're in alignment with your foot on the ground. Draw your left shoulder back so that you can shine your heart center. Continue to lift up that left leg strong and straight, toes pointed forward. Creating a sensation like you are flying. Take one more inhale, and then exhale, go ahead. Place your left hand on the floor, and go ahead and take the standing split. Drawing your heart center down towards the floor in that split. And then on your exhale, go ahead and rise up into that warrior three. Your hands can stay on the ground if you want, or you can bring them alongside your hips, or ultimately, you can bring them forward. Take one more inhale, and then on your exhale, gently go back into warrior two. That wasn't gentle. Rise up your hands into warrior two. Take an inhale. Exhale, circle your hands down. Move your right foot back to join your left. Lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale into upward facing dog. And exhale into downward facing dog. Go ahead and take 5 breaths. As you exhale, push away. Inhale. Bring your belly button up against your spine to protect your lower back and the integrity of your pelvis. Make sure that you're drawing your shoulders back and down away from your ears, gripping the floor with your hands. Keeping your collarbones wide to allow space for your heart center to descend. One more inhale and exhale. Inhale, take your left foot forward and rise up into Anjaneyasana. Exhale, open up again into warrior two. And then what I want you to do is straighten out your left leg, moving into triangle pose. You can choose to place your left hand that is on the floor anywhere that you want. It can be on your ankle, on your shin, on your foot, on the floor, beside your leg. Whatever you do, make sure that you're drawing the crown of your head in the same direction as your foot, that you are tilting your right hip down, drawing your belly button in, bringing your right shoulder back. Go ahead and spiral your left thigh so that your kneecap is facing the ceiling, turning the bones of your thigh inside of your hip socket. One more inhale. Go ahead and reach your hand up to the ceiling as high as you can get it. And then on your exhale, go ahead, turn towards your right leg. Shorten your stance slightly as we set up for pyramid. Draw your heart center forward. Draw your left hip back. And then descend over that left leg. Continue to draw your shoulders onto your back. No pressure on your lower spine. Instead, a beautiful stretch all along your left hamstring and the back of your right knee. Take your hands, go ahead and straighten out into a half lift. Go ahead and take your hands behind in prayer pose and then lift all the way up. You might need to change your stance slightly to give yourself stability. And as you lift up, go ahead, keep your hips stable as you curl back over your hands and look at the ceiling above. Take another inhale. And then on your exhale, moving your heart center out and forward as you descend down. Again, over that left leg. Continue to draw your left hip back and bring your right hip forward. Dropping your hands. Go ahead and set up for revolved triangle. Place your right hand on the inside of your right foot. Take your left hand on your left hip and initially just turn your shoulders up. Continue to draw your left hip back as you bring your right hip forward and then lift up your left arm. Curling into this twist, using the strength of your core muscles to do this. Take one more inhale. Exhale, drop your left hand. Take your left foot back to join your right. Setting up under Chaturanga Dandasana, lower. And then inhale into upward facing dog. Exhale into downward facing dog. Take a cleansing breath. Exhale, pushing the hips back, stretching away from the floor. Take an inhale, bringing your right foot forward, and then opening up into warrior two. Go ahead and straighten out your right leg. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, descending into your triangle. Again, your hand can be on your foot, on your ankle, on your shin, or it can even be on the floor. Your choice. Draw your left shoulder back. Spiral your right thigh inside of your right hip bone so that your knee is facing the ceiling. Continue to draw your left shoulder back. Continue to drop your left hip. On your final inhale, reach your hand up as high as you can get it. And then on your exhale, go ahead and bring your left foot to the floor. Bring your left foot in a little bit. I said your left foot, I meant your left hand. Having both hands on the floor, take a half lift and draw the crown of your head as far forward as you can while you're bringing your right hip back. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, you can begin to descend over that right leg. Continue to draw your right hip back. Try to draw your shoulders back together on your back. Go ahead and take the half lift. Place your hands behind your back in reverse prayer, and then go ahead and rise up, keeping your hips stable. You might need to adjust your feet a little bit. I just did. And then go ahead, keeping your hips in alignment. Go ahead and curl back over your hands, looking at the ceiling. Take another inhale. And then on your exhale, go ahead and descend over your right leg. Keeping your right hip moving back as your left hip comes forward so that you can keep your hips squared off. Looking at your second toe on your right foot. Drop your left hand. Adjust your stance as you need to as we set up for revolved triangle. Initially take your right hand and place it on your right hip. Then turn your shoulders up. Then lift up your hand. In revolved triangle, as you twist to the right, engage your solar plexus muscles, your core muscles, all of your abdominal muscles. Draw your right shoulder back so that it is stacked over your left. Take one more inhale. Exhale, drop your right hand down. Open back up into warrior two. Circle your hands down. Moving back, right foot to join left, lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale into upward facing dog. And then exhale into downward facing dog, taking cleansing breaths. Move your hips back in space. Draw your shoulders back and down. Allow your heart to descend towards the floor. Using your muscle energy to make these movements. So if you're ever in a yoga class and your yoga instructor decides to do a hands-on adjustment and pushes your chest down, please tell them not to do that. People have been injured that way. Always focus in downward dog on bringing your sits bones further back in space and high up into the air. The hips generate the movement and create the space that you need in your shoulders. Take one more inhale. And then on your exhale, go ahead, drop your knees down, place your toes together, and let's set up for child's pose. Just take another little break. Place your forehead on the floor so that you can increase stimulation of the third eye chakra. When the third eye chakra is stimulated, you can turn inward. You can settle your nervous system. You can settle your brain. Take another inhale. And then exhale. Go ahead and rise up. And let's go ahead and open up our feet just a little bit. Draw our knees together, tuck our toes, and sit back on our heels. Why don't we go ahead and take eagle arms while we're in this pose instead of doing full eagle today, because we've already done a lot of deep work in the legs. Let's take our arms into that robot position. And go ahead and fold our right arm underneath our left. In our eagle arms, draw our shoulders back and down as we lift up our elbows. Find a fixed point off into the distance with your drishti gaze. And breathe at least 3 times, 3 cycles of breath. Final breath. And then exhale, unravel your arms. Go ahead and lean forward, flatten out your feet and sit back on your feet. Now we're gonna do the other side. Take those eagle arms, wrap your left arm underneath your right, bringing your hands together, bring your shoulders back and down as you lift up your elbows. And out of the other side, find your drishti gaze. Find a fixed point off into the distance. And think of the eagle, the kind of laser precision focus that the eagle displays while hunting. Take one more inhale. And then exhale, unravel your arms. Let's go ahead and then finally move our feet apart and sit down into hero. As Simon well knows, I tend to encourage this pose in every single sequence. Now, there are variations of this pose that I do not take because of my own anatomy, but you can lay down in this pose, a reclined hero. Another option you have is you can lean forward and get a different stretch. For me, this doesn't bother my sacroiliac joints, but it could bother somebody that has difficulty with inside hip rotation. So listen to your body when you're in this pose. You can also lift up your hips onto something. You can even use your hands to lift up your hips. You can press your hands against the soles of your feet, which kind of encourages a stretch of the top of your foot. and lift out that way. You have many variations. The benefit of this pose really is the way that we are turning the knees. Take another inhale. And take an exhale. Let's go ahead, rise up, and just find our way to the front of the mat so that we can take a final standing pose, because it's a joyful pose. It's good for concentration. And I know it happens to be one of Simon's favorites. So go ahead and find your Tadasana. Here's a nice Tadasana for y'all. Stack shoulders over the hips, drawing our head back towards our back body plane. We're going to go ahead and take tree pose. So you have feet variations in tree pose. Go ahead and set your foundation first with your right foot. What I do is I lift up all of my toes, make sure that all 3 points of my foot, the big toe mound, the little toe mound, and my heel are in firm contact with the floor. Then I lower my toes, drawing energy up from that leg. Just don't move your left leg yet. Drawing energy up from that leg, lifting up out of the hips, strengthening all of the muscles of your quadriceps, which brings the skin of your kneecap up a little bit. Now you have a nice foundation. So on that foundation, go ahead, turn your left knee out. You'll have to turn your heel in to do that. You can have it so that your toes are touching the floor and your foot is surrounding your ankle. You can pull your toes off the floor so they're just pointing towards the floor, but your heel is kind of in the same spot. You can come up to your calf muscle, or if you have cooperative pants, and I think I do today, you can take it all the way up to the top of the leg. So then when you're in this position, go ahead and push your heel into your thigh into your heel, or whichever variation you have. Continue to push the leg into the foot to create stability. Drawing the belly button in and up. Go ahead and rise your hands up. And if you want, join me in taking a goddess pose with this today. Drawing the shoulders back. Drawing the belly button in. Find your drishti gaze. And focus. Take one more inhale. And then on your exhale, circle your hands down. Maybe you take them behind you in reverse prayer. Draw your shoulders back and down, exposing your heart center. Balancing poses force us to focus, because if we don't focus, we'll just fall out of them. Take another inhale. And then on your exhale, release your hands down. Gently release your foot down. Switching sides. Go ahead and create that same foundation as you did on the other side. Keep your right foot on the floor. As you lift up your toes, establish your foundation, all 3 points of the foot together. Lift up out of the hip. Strengthen the muscles of your leg to lift the skin on your kneecap. Then descend your toes. Then lift up your right heel, turning it in towards the leg. Maybe you take the variation with your toes on the floor. Maybe your toes are off the floor and surrounding the ankle. Maybe your foot is wrapped around your calf muscle, or maybe it's all the way to the top of the leg. Initially bringing our hands to heart center as we begin to create stability in this pose. Continue to lift up out of the hips, drawing your shoulders back and down. Go ahead and lift your hands up if you choose. Join me in this goddess. Drawing the shoulders back and down. Finding your drishti gaze. Thinking of the goddess Hakini, maybe you can take the Hakini pose, hand mudra. So with the goddess Hakini, remember harnessing the power of the brain. the power of your focus and concentration, the power of your memory, and balancing both halves of your brain. Take another inhale. Exhale, circling your hands down. Going into reverse prayer behind your back. Draw your shoulders back and down. Take one more inhale. And then exhale, bring your hands down. Drop your right foot. Inhale your hands overhead. Exhale, go ahead and descend down into a forward fold, drawing your heart center down. And then when you've arrived at your most extended portion of this, go ahead and take your fingers, wrap them around your toes. Go ahead and draw your crown of your head forward in a half lift, and then exhale, descend down, drawing your elbows backwards as you deepen your forward fold. Lifting your sits bones up to the sky, move your weight into the front of your foot. Take another inhale. Exhale, drawing in, drawing your heart center down. And then on your inhale, rise all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Take an inhale. Exhale your hands down. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Move back into that plank pose again. Lower chaturanga dandasana. Inhale into upward facing dog. Exhale into downward facing dog. And let's set up for pigeon. Go ahead, bring your right foot to the outside of your right leg. And just go ahead and engage in some gentle side to side movements to open up your hips to prepare for this pose. You have worked very hard today, and I want to thank you. Thank you for giving back to yourself during this time. Thank you for putting your wellness first. Go ahead and drop your left knee. Walk your right foot over towards the left. And then go ahead and allow your right knee to be on the outside of your right hip. You can have your left toe tucked behind you or your foot flat according to what your knee tells you it wants. I prefer to have mine tucked because I don't like that sensation of my kneecap moving when I place my foot flat on the floor. But I can also deal with that more by just bringing my left hip back. So it's all a matter of preference what you do in this pose. But now that we're in it, let's go ahead, tent our fingers, draw our shoulders back and down, lift up the heart center, get a nice little bend in the back. And then exhale, go ahead, draw your heart center forward. As you move your hands forward to open up that right hip, maybe drop your forehead on the floor so that you can stimulate the third eye chakra again. And while you are in this pose, focus on drawing your right hip back as you bring your left hip forward. Continuing to open up your right hip. By aligning the hips, you're creating integrity in the pose. You're lining up the bones properly with the joints. You're engaging the muscles that keep your pelvis stable. So many yogis with a lot of years of opening up their hips might complain of losing the integrity of the hips, the joints becoming too loose, the ligaments becoming overextended. And then over time, they lose the benefit of these deep stretches because they have lost the strength. So you must always balance out flexibility with strength and never sacrifice your alignment to get more deeply into a pose. Allow your body to move naturally into it and move slowly. And when you feel pain, back off and away from the pose a little bit. You have many years of living in your body and you want them to be good years. Take another inhale. And then on your exhale, go ahead. Walk your hands back. Go ahead. Rise up again. Exhale, tuck your left toes. Using the strength of your core muscles, bring your knee up and back, moving your hip back in space. So notice I didn't drag my foot across the mat because that's going to create unnecessary pressure on that knee. Moving slowly into your downward dog, allowing your right leg to open up again. On your next inhale, go ahead and bring your left foot forward on the outside of your left hand, keeping your right knee up in space. Go ahead and just move your hips gently back and forth to gradually open them up. I hate to overuse the word organic, but it is an organic movement. And then go ahead and walk your left foot to the right, laying your left knee down on the outside of your hip. Again, yogi's choice, what you do with your leg behind you. You can have your toes tucked. You can have your foot flat on the floor. If it is flat on the floor and it's irritating your knees, you can just strengthen your leg a little bit and open up the right hip a little bit more, drawing that leg behind you so that more of the weight is on your right quadricep. Then tent your hands. Draw your heart center up as you bring your shoulders down. And then on your exhale, go ahead and descend, drawing your heart center forward and down over your right leg. And then go ahead and extend your hands out. Draw your right hip forward as you bring your left hip back. So it may mean that your right hip isn't on the floor. And that's okay. And if that's uncomfortable, you can put something under it, like a block or a blanket. But continue to engage those muscles while we're in pigeon today to maintain the integrity of our pelvis. Take one more inhale. And then on your exhale, go ahead, walk your hands back. Take that king pigeon position again with your shoulders and your back, opening up your throat, drawing your shoulders back and down, lifting up the heart center. And then on your exhale, tuck your toes, lift up your knee, and bring it back so that your left foot joins your right foot, moving back into your downward facing dog. Take an inhale. Take an exhale, pushing your hips back in space. Maybe now your heels have descended down and they're touching the floor. Maybe not, doesn't matter. Take one more inhale. Exhale, bring your feet together, bend your legs. And then keeping your arms strong and straight, go ahead and hop up to your arms. Rise up into that half lift, half Uttanasana. Descend down. Go ahead and take a crouched position. So I like this final position. I'll show it to you from the side. This is really good, again, for strengthening the pelvis. Strengthening the legs, draw the thighs together like you're zipping them up. And then just go ahead and sit nice and tall. So I'm not actually sitting on my heels. My whole body is lifted. This is a setup for other poses like this. But it's a really good pose to increase our strength of our legs, of our pelvis, of our core muscles, of our back. And then you can go ahead and release out of that. And let's go ahead and take Malasana. So legs apart, drawing our hands together, drawing our back, our crown of our head up to the ceiling, straightening out our back. Maybe pressing our elbows against the knees and pressing the knees against the elbows, which also strengthens all the muscles of the pelvis. And just turn inward. And again, think of the Goddess Hakini. Maybe today when I post the video on YouTube, I'll give a little bit of information about the Goddess Hakini. I'll put the link about Hakini on my Facebook page. Take another inhale, drawing the crown of your head up. And then on the exhale, let's go ahead and release out of that. Just find your way to a sitting position. Turning to the side. Going ahead and taking that staff pose, Dandasana. Hands down to the floor, drawing the shoulders back and down. Drawing your back, plane of your head in alignment with your entire back. And just sit here for a moment with your feet flexed and enjoy the strength of this pose. Take one more inhale. And then exhale. Go ahead and bend your legs. Move your hips down towards your feet and go ahead and recline back down as we set up for Shavasana. Take our hands out to the side. Bring up our knees so that our shins are parallel with the ceiling. Push our knees out slightly. Just hold that position for a moment so that you can feel all of the muscles of your abdominal area being engaged. So a nice way to know how to do this is if you make your hands straight and your legs are, just touching the palms of your hands, you will be engaging all of these muscles. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, go ahead and drop your knees to the right. Maybe place your right hand on top of your right knee to increase your stretch. Draw your left shoulder down to the floor as you look over your left shoulder out at your left hand. Again, find your drishti glaze. Find your concentration. Take an inhale. Fully exhale. Place your right hand back on the floor. Using the strength of your abdominal muscles, lift your legs up again. And then again, push your knees out so that you engage all of your core muscles, keeping your shins parallel with the floor. Because when you lift up your legs, you kind of change the muscle engagement. So go ahead and keep your shins parallel with the ceiling. Drawing your belly button down so that your back is flat against the floor, protecting your lower spine. Take one more inhale. And then on your exhale, go ahead and drop your right knees down. Place your left hand on your right knee to increase your stretch. Draw your right shoulder down towards the floor and look out over your right hand. Take one more inhale. And then on your exhale, go ahead, bring your knees back up, drop your feet. I'm not going to make you do any more ab work. And now we're setting up for our final resting pose of the day. So go ahead and adjust your body in any way that you need to. Sometimes it helps to lift up the hips so that your sacrum is resting firmly on the floor. Sometimes it helps to just draw the shoulders in slightly so that you create space for your upper back and your neck. And then go ahead and extend your legs down. Allowing your palms to face the ceiling. Hands on either side of your body, resting comfortably. Go ahead, close your eyes. Start to return your breath to normal. Breathing in and out of your nose, smoothly, softly. Not trying to create any specific kind of breath, just a gentle, relaxed breath. Bringing down your heart rate, bringing down your energy. Start to scan your body and look for any places where you may still be retaining tension or energy. Release it. Allow the benefits of your practice to seep in this time of stillness. And as you lay here with your eyes closed, consider that in this life that is a little bit hectic, that it is important to find these moments of stillness. And in these moments of stillness, we can connect with our own self. We can connect with our mind, with our heart, with our spirit. We can observe what is happening in the body and make adjustments. Adjust our breathing, adjust our posture, intentionally let go of any tension we are maintaining or holding on to in our structure. We can take observation or note of how we are breathing. Is our breathing smooth? Or does it get stuck somewhere? Does it come in halts and fits? What about our heart rate? Is it starting to slow down? Is it regular? Do we feel like we have free movement of our ribs, of our collarbones, of our chest muscles? To allow the breath to move in and out, unrestrained. Can we allow ourselves to fall into a state of deep relaxation? Where the mind may feel a little bit like a twilight sleep, where you're present but far away at the same time. When you have arrived there, that is when you have deep healing, deep restoration. I invite you to stay in Shavasana for at least 5 minutes. 15 or 20 is better. Thank you for taking this time to focus on your wellness and your health, to connect with yourself, and to unleash the power of your focus and concentration in the spirit of the Goddess Hakini. I hope that you'll join us next week at the treasure box here in front of the fireplace. And please come down. Gary is doing lots of wonderful things for Christmas. And in particular, he has a big Christmas event from 4 to 7 on December 12th. And I will be here playing flute for you with a friend. We may also have other live musicians. The yogi in me honors the yogi in you. Namaste.